This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live, a shit show Tuesday afternoon edition. The House expected to vote. They're still not on the floor. Uh-oh. Washington Post going live now. As of a few moments ago, they are still not on the House floor. These nuts might have the winning bet that they call a recess because they don't have the votes. Apparently, Jim Jordan will not be Speaker of the House today. There are at least 5 no votes, and that sinks his nomination. But apparently he thinks he can win it. I'm betting he's either going to win it on the first ballot or it's going to be a long day. They'll call a recess. It's going to be a shit show. Fuzzy Face, Meat Cakes, Clinically, Warlord, Sky Comet, these nuts. Love you all. So glad to see you. Thank you for joining me for this special report. It looks like I just woke up moments ago and have not even had my coffee because I just woke up moments ago and have not even had my coffee. Let me hit you with your meme of the day. Hamas is beheading babies. Yeah, I know they aren't. A little buddy of mine saw a video of it online. No, he didn't. Well, you can imagine if they did, right? Get out of your echo chamber, pal. So D's Nut saying 1 vote. That's a good possibility. I think if Jim Jordan is going to win it, he wins it on the first vote. What happens from there, I have no fucking clue. So we'll take Washington Post here. They are live.
Aggressive tactics to get more votes, and there are about maybe a handful who are saying that they still aren't going to vote for him. But
last I saw, there are 5 hard no's, and that would sink his nomination.
At noon, expected at noon.
Well, it's noon now.
Procedurally is you will see members speak in favor of Jordan or any other nominee that they want to bring to the floor. They'll give a speech.
Hope you guys packed a snack, packed a lunch.
They want for speaker. Now, what's important is the math. Of course, he needs 217 members.
Will Jim Jordan outlast the lettuce?
For him to be successful. But if he loses,
he ain't even gonna make it to be speaker.
Starting point with no speaker. So this could be wrapped up in 1 round, or it could go on for multiple rounds. Yesterday, Jim Jordan told reporters that he wanted to take this to the floor. He had previously said that he wanted to wait until he had that guaranteed 217. However, he's now saying he wants this to happen at noon. He's saying that that's what the founders have intended, that they just vote and state their case on the floor.
You're seeing a live look inside of the House.
What the future is with this speakership. A lot of members who have been against Jordan.
There is your acting Speaker of the House.
Trump has been named.
I forget his name, little man in the bow tie.
Stance on the election of 2020 as well as January 6th, saying that Trump won. Those are concerns people still have on their mind. Appropriations bills. The Senate and the House will need to come to some conclusion to keep the government open soon. And they're concerned about Jim Jordan's stance on potentially.
It looks like they're having a little prayer. Angry gavel guy. He is the representative. He is a representative from Pennsylvania.
Hit that 4-over mark.
I remember what state he's from. I don't remember his name.
Could be a short day, could be a long day, could be a long week.
Bowtie bitch. That's a great name.
All right, thanks, Rhonda Colvin. I want to bring Leanne Caldwell into the conversation, author of The Early 202, and one of the reporters who has been roaming around Capitol Hill and feeding us so much.
Patrick McHenry is his
Leanne,
name.
Talk about some things that we have learned. You know, there are a handful of Republicans who are watching to see just how they will vote and if they will support Jim Jordan. Our colleague Jackie Alamany just reported that Ken Buck has just come out and said he doesn't plan to support him.
My name is Ken Buck and I like to fuck.
Watching today that could go either way.
Hey, Libby. So we're watching at least a dozen members. Ken Buck is someone who has told me over the past several days that he's not going to be persuaded. He has lots of concerns about.
When it came to Liz Truss, the lettuce won. Lettuce is 1-0 thus far. I guess 2-0.
Acknowledging that Joe Biden won the election.
We count Steve Scalise.
Which might sound super in the weeds, but Jim Jordan's position on antitrust issues. And Ken Buck is someone who wants to break up big tech monopolies, and that's someone
Everybody's like, I'm Team Lettuce.
does not support. And so there's a lot of nuance here and a lot of reasons why different members don't support Jim Jordan, but we are going to be watching about a dozen members.
Fuzzy Face says it's doubtful that Ken Buck can fuck.
If he's going to have the votes. Perhaps the first person we're going to watch is Don Bacon.
I'm quoting Kill Bill with that. What was that dude's name? I think it was Buck. My name is Buck, and I like to fuck.
He's a moderate, and he has.
As he's getting ready to rape Uma Thurman.
Impact he'll have in his reelection.
And then Uma Thurman, he fucked around and found out.
James, the opening of business on the House floor. Let's talk about Patrick McHenry, who people.
Yeah, Buck's truck. Yeah.
Why is this gentleman there, James?
He is the interim.
Wiggle your big toe.
There's an argument about how much power exactly he does have, whether it's a ceremonial role, but essentially there was a list that said if Kevin McCarthy was no longer Speaker, McHenry would become the acting Speaker. He's the chairman of the Financial Services Committee. He's been very careful.
Bow-tie, bitch.
That he does not want to be seen as competing for this job. I was talking to a source yesterday who was at a fundraiser with him.
We gabbled in. We've got a prayer.
He said, no, Mr. Chairman. I'm the chairman of the Financial Services Committee. Don't call me Mr. Speaker. So I think he is trying to emphasize that he is in this role in a temporary way.
So you see
the vote to see if we have a quorum.
So they've gavelled in, they've started business, they've done the pledge, they've done a prayer from the House chaplain. So now we're going to get a sense in this quorum call of just how many people are in the building, are literally in the House. And this is important because it will reveal concretely the numbers that McCarthy will need. So we are going to take you live to when there are speeches supporting the candidates for House Speaker today, and we'll be watching the vote. But right now, while they're doing this quorum call, talk to us about what numbers we're watching, James.
Yeah, so these are the people that are in the chamber. What we're hearing from House Democrats is that all of their members are present and accounted for.
Which is no easy feat.
It's no easy
really.
feat.
Yeah.
There's, you think about
all Democrats are present.
435 people on any given day. Is everyone going to be there, or someone going to be sick, or someone going to be traveling, or have some family issue? What we do know for sure is that in this first round, Gus Bilirakis, a Republican congressman from Florida who supports Jim Jordan for Speaker, will not be here. He is attending a funeral in Florida.
So at least one Republican down.
He won't get in until around 6. So he could potentially vote in a second round. The reason they're doing the quorum call at the top is to know basically what is Jim Jordan's win number. Rhonda mentioned at the top, he can only afford to lose 4 votes. If there are multiple.
We apparently have 5 hard no's. 5
to 3 votes, and that becomes a lot trickier. So there is an effort to fill the seats, and it does appear that if every Democrat is there and if only one Republican is gone, Jordan can only afford to lose 4 before he doesn't get it on this first ballot.
Leanne, give us a sense of what it's going to be like for you and our Washington Post colleagues reporting on this, because you can actually be in the chamber, in that gallery, overlooking everything. What do you get to see that we don't get to see from the cameras? Because, of course, we don't control those cameras. The House does. Tell us about the environment and what you'll be watching.
But because of the Republican rules, we actually get different camera angles now.
Alongside my colleagues.
That may change with a new speaker.
Paul Kane will be in there too. And we'll be able to see all of the members in their seats. We'll be able to see any sort of sidebar conversations that are happening, or if Jim Jordan or some of his allies go up to members.
I would love being the House AV person.
To vote a different way. And so we do get a lot of insight into what is actually happening and try to read into those conversations.
I don't think there's going to be a new speaker today.
And what's happening as the vote tally is progressing. And so,
but what happens from there, I don't know.
it's an extraordinary vantage point. We were in those.
People walk by my window all the time and see me yelling into a microphone. I wonder what they think.
Become Speaker of the House.
That dude was totally like staring inside my window.
Leanne, I just want to dig a little bit more into what you'll be watching. You know, some of these side huddles and conversations can be so revealing because part of Jim Jordan's job right now and his lieutenant's job is to convince people that he should be the next speaker. Do you think there'll be people trying to convince folks the other way? Is there an anti-Jim Jordan movement happening right now?
That's a great question. I think that I don't know if it's like a movement to try to persuade people to block him, but there are definitely groups of people where like-minded cohorts are having discussions and signal chats and text message chats about what to do. For example, there's a Republican group within the Republican conference called the Republican Governance Group. They make up a lot of the kind of my more moderate type of Republicans, and sources who are part of that group say that there are at least 13 people who are against Jim Jordan right now. And so
I'd heard 5 hard no's. She's saying 13.
With those people.
It's insurmountable.
So there is a big there's a significant.
Let's go over a couple of things while we're waiting for the quorum vote to take place. We'll do top line headlines here with Washington Post. Catch you up on everything that's been going on. House is expected to vote Tuesday afternoon. Jordan, a conservative firebrand who is allied with former President Donald Trump, was chosen by fellow Republicans on Friday. By the way, I said wrong. Yep, Mr. Smokey. I was wrong last night. I said we've been without a speaker for a week. It will be 2 weeks tomorrow. I misspoke last night. So this update 2 minutes ago, ahead of House beginning to vote for Speaker, they're conducting a quorum call. Republicans say Representative Gus Bilirakis won't be in Washington. Apparently he's the only one that we know of right now. Apparently there are several Republicans that are missing. Notable nonetheless that many Republicans are not here to start voting for Speaker. Ken Buck just walked into the chamber after huddling with Representative Kelly Armstrong. Buck indicated that he is still a no vote. You can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. This is according to a famous quote attributed to Winston Churchill. Could the American Congress do the bipartisan thing after they've tried everything else? I doubt it. Jim Jordan told reporters that he feels really good about his odds of becoming Speaker, but did not answer questions on whether he'll go to several ballots, other than saying he will do whatever it takes to get a Speaker. Dustin, good afternoon. We have comments from Jamie Raskin. A Democrat, on what is going to go on with the Democratic caucus.
Now, we don't have enough stand zones for these guys.
Mr. Raskin, can you come speak to
Nix, good afternoon.
What is your message ahead of the speaker's vote tonight?
Hakeem Jeffries is a super effective and efficient leader, and we have unanimous support for him within the Democratic caucus, and we're going to be voting for Hakeem Jeffries. Jim Jordan is not without political talent, as you can see from his astonishing run for Speaker right now, but he is a MAGA extremist who is in direct contact with Donald Trump on a continuous, constant basis. He's anti-choice, he's anti-environment, and so it would basically cement the transformation of the Republican caucus into a pro-Trump MAGA party.
Do you think there's a chance of a bipartisan coalition today?
No, not today.
if this doesn't work with Jim Jordan, yes. I mean, and we certainly promote and favor a bipartisan solution to this. I think that Hakeem Jeffries would be somebody that the Republicans can work with. He's he's true to his word. He's super well organized. He's legislatively prolific. So, that's our solution. But if they
legislatively prolific, that's another thing I wanted to point out. Jim Jordan has apparently only authored 4 bills. 16 years in Congress, has only authored 4 bills, none of which passed. An incredibly ineffective politician.
Find it indigestible to vote for a Democrat. There are lots of Republicans that I, speaking for myself, could support. I would think that Liz Cheney would be the natural compromise candidate. She was the chair of the Republican conference, the number 3 person in their hierarchy, and if they couldn't vote for Liz Cheney, that would be a hell of a statement about the condition of their party.
Sir, do you have any regrets about?
Wow, wasn't expecting that.
If Jordan's going to be that much worse?
Oh, we didn't take any vote to boot McCarthy. We voted for Hakeem Jeffries, which is what we did 15 times back in January. So our position has been consistent throughout. There's a civil war taking place within the Republican Party and caucus, and that civil war might just turn into a purge of any moderates.
That's already happened.
To look like there's a excuse me. It's starting to look like there.
Can anyone name a moderate in the Republican Party? Do they exist? Maybe, perhaps Mitt Romney. He ain't running for re-election, and that's in the Senate. And I wouldn't call Mitt Romney a moderate.
There is a consolidation of the party around Trump and around the MAGA wing. So I think the GOP right now might be the POT, the party of Trump.
But you did vote to oust McCarthy, and now we're in a situation where Jim Jordan very well could be Speaker by the end of the day.
So again, our position's been consistent throughout. We're for Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker. We're for the Democratic majority in America, which believes in pro-choice, which believes in reasonable gun safety laws like the universal violent criminal background check. That
DJ Dub.
Science is real and climate.
Warlords, I tell you, good afternoon or good evening for you.
Get back to work for the American people, and that's where
there are moderate Republicans in the Democratic Party. Nail on the head.
Liz Cheney as a potential person that you would like to see Republicans support. She's not in office. Is there a person in office that, or currently in Congress on the Republican side that you would support to speak?
Sure, but there are several of them, but I wouldn't want to spoil any of their chances by stating their names publicly. I mean, it seems as if any bipartisanship on the part of Republicans becomes a disqualifying factor in the eyes of the MAGA wing. So I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail, but it would be a very extreme statement for them to choose Jim Jordan as the Speaker. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Jamie Raskin looking a lot better. I hope you kicked cancer in the balls. Glad to see you looking well, sir.
Few weeks back, in order to keep the government running, Jim Jordan did not support that. So there is sort of this question mark that appropriators have about where is he going to stand? Will he be more aggressive in demanding more from Senate Republicans or Senate Democrats when it comes to negotiating what that funding bill looks like eventually? So that is one of the real core issues that some members have had to move past in order to.
Still 2 minutes remaining. Over 2 minutes remaining.
About the Ohio delegation
quorum vote.
Question marks when they should know Jim Jordan very well from just working with him as another state lawmaker. It seems as if
we all know about Jim Jordan.
Lawmakers are
and his complicity in January 6th.
Somewhat of an aggressive advocate.
And his cover-up of sexual abuse of
we've seen him in hearings.
Wrestlers at Ohio State University.
Rolling up his sleeves, not wearing a suit coat, and kind of being that aggressive figure in these committees. And some wonder, especially in moderate districts, how is that going to play with constituents? So these are all some of the question marks that have come up.
This is, they need a quorum in order to proceed with business.
for them to vote.
So what a quorum is like? What
We're watching the time dwindle on this quorum call now.
like
James,
3/5 of the House or something is a quorum?
down right away, but we're watching now for these nominating speeches, these speeches in support.
They don't have enough people present. They don't have a quorum, and they can't proceed with business.
Republican who will be trying to convince all of his colleagues to support him, and then Hakeem Jeffries will be the nominee for the Democrats. I misspoke earlier. Mike Simpson is from Idaho, not Ohio, so my apologies to everyone from Idaho and Ohio. Let's talk about what Jordan has done.
Idaho, Ohio, they both suck.
He's known for his roots in Ohio. He's known for his work.
Sorry to anyone in Ohio or
This
Idaho.
collision course that you're talking about, that not all of the Ohioan Republicans are in support of him. How has he been whipping up?
Ohio, Maud.
How has he been working the phones or trying to convince people that he should get this job?
He is reaching out to some Republicans for the first time. He was one of the co-founders of the House Freedom
Wait,
Caucus a decade ago.
I have to pause you there because he's a committee head.
Right.
He's a loud Republican on Capitol Hill, and he hasn't been cultivating those relationships until now?
He hasn't, because I don't believe until now he aspired to be Speaker in a real way in recent years.
And I just want to contrast that to Kevin McCarthy or Steve Scalise. You know, we heard members on the floor talking about, and I've heard this as well, that, you know, McCarthy knows their kids' birthdays, knows when a relative dies, like has been working this, these relationships over so many years, as had Scalise. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that's what having a whip operation means. That's what being in leadership means. Is you sort of have to know what every one of your members wants, sort of what their district needs, what the politics are, what the polling is in their individual districts. You have to be very mindful of, you know, the House. Whip folks call it care and feeding. You know, it's like animals at a zoo, but you're kind of, everyone needs care and feeding. What do you need? Is there an earmark you want? How can we get your vote? What do you want? And so someone like Scalise had spent years building up this whip operation where he had files on every House Republican. You know, a lot of the members of leadership travel.
Brewster brought me a chair.
For example, last year before the midterm.
Also fell on the floor.
For some of the people who were running in competitive districts to get to know them so that they could get their votes. Jim Jordan hasn't done that kind of travel. He is a hard right.
Did everyone see me fall on the floor? That was hilarious. Trying to grab Smokey.
McCarthy for leader a few years ago, though he didn't think he was going to win. It was more to make a point. But he's someone who has never been in leadership. He's someone who, in his nearly 2 decades in the House, has actually never passed a piece of legislation before. He is a fighter. He's not a legislator. So this is a new role for him. But to your question, he has been reaching out to these people that he didn't have relationships really with before, either from House Judiciary Committee or House Oversight. Those members he did know. The kind of traditional clubbier appropriators, the members on not just appropriations but Ways and Means who write tax policy, they tend to be more bipartisan, and they tend to not really be Jordan's cup of tea, nor is he theirs. And so he has been sitting down with them, asking what they want, making private commitments to people. The big block that Jordan focused on over the weekend were the people on House Armed Services. Those are the hawks. The committee overwhelmingly supports more funding for Ukraine. Jordan has been skeptical of Ukraine. And so last Friday, there was a lot of talk on the Hill that the armed services members were going to sort of vote as a block against Jordan and stop him from becoming Speaker. Jordan went to Mike Rogers, a Republican from Alabama, who's chairman of that committee, and basically said, look, I will let Ukraine funding come up for a vote on the floor. We'll have regular order. I'll make sure that the National Defense Reauthorization Act, which is the big thing that committee puts together every year, I'll make sure it gets an up or down vote. And that was able to get Mike Rogers.
I fucking love Skyline.
Also, it's worth pointing out, it's not just the
cans of Skyline went from like $5.99 to $8.99 now, though. So
Mike Rogers,
hard to justify.
Rural district in Alabama, and conservatives encourage.
Not that I like bean chili. Don't get me wrong. I like a bean chili.
And many others.
But man, some Skyline, a three-way Skyline on some spaghetti with some cheese.
Trying to push these members into line. So Jordan's playing the inside game and the outside game, and he has been able to flip a lot of.
I don't like the four-way. I don't like the onions because I don't like uncooked onions very much.
Today for the first vote, and
I like a
Republican from Missouri. She was very angry.
Like a caramelized onion.
Scalise was was treated. She felt like Jim Jordan wasn't gracious when Scalise beat him last week. And on Friday, she told reporters when they asked whether she would vote for Jordan, hell no. And then yesterday, she announced she's voting for Jim Jordan. They had a meeting. We don't know what promises were made. And then this morning, another big get for Jim Jordan, and these have sort of been coming out to create this sense of momentum. Every couple hours, a Republican will put out a statement. Juan Ciscomani, who is a freshman from Arizona, a swing district outside Phoenix, he is going to have a tough race. He's he was a very big McCarthy ally, and he said he'll vote for Jordan.
I want to go to Mariana Sotomayor, who covers the House of Representatives for the Washington Post and joins us from there now. Mariana, let's talk about some of these flips, these switches. How significant are they?
You know, it has signified just some momentum for Jordan, and it is pretty significant, especially, you know, it was just mentioned Juan Ciscomani. He is a freshman. He is a moderate. He does represent a swing district, and many of these Republicans last week were privately signaling that Jordan, who is known as a MAGA conservative,
you got Jordantum
to Democratic voters as that kind of Republican boogeyman, they were worried that this would make it harder for them electorally. However, Jordan really has been winning over their support simply by telling them, look, because I have those...
So I found a copycat recipe for Skyline, and the first time I made it, nailed it. It was like perfect.
And it is,
but the two times I've tried to make it since did not taste anything like Skyline.
There are still, though...
So I don't know what the fuck I did.
We're not going to support him. Our expectation is that he is going to lose on this first ballot.
The first time it was perfect.
Goes to a second ballot, but you know, some Republicans have said, I'm not going to vote for him out of protest of, you know, differing feelings as to why on the first ballot. But you know, as we get to the second or third ballot,
Texas,
but also
might by the end of the decade be a blue state.
You have some Republicans who are simply saying, I'm not going to do and vote for 15.
When you look at the margin
earlier this year, if Jordan
of the win of the Republicans in the last few elections, it is clear that Texas is trending blue.
Thank you so much, Mariana. Rhonda, I want to go into this more with you. This question of these flips, some notable names, important because either they wield power on important committees or because there are some of these moderates or Republicans who wouldn't necessarily be aligned with Jordan in terms of legislative tactics. What does it mean big picture?
Well, big picture, one of the things that I've observed over the last week is that, as I've mentioned before, the mood here on Capitol Hill, where it seemed like a little bit of novelty that they would go behind closed doors, figure out who would be the next leader. But by the end of the week, it almost felt like there was some resignation. And you also may see that, too, in some of the ways that the people who did flip in their public statements of why they flipped. You're not seeing very enthusiastic support for Jim Jordan among those people who flipped. What you're hearing more is that we want the House to be unified. We have to move forward because we have the situation in...
Trump won Texas by 9 points in 2016.
Stopgap measure that ends next month. We have to move forward on that.
And won it by less than 6 points in 2020.
Person that has the most votes in our closed door sessions. Even though he didn't have enough, he has the most right now. Let's go with him. So that it's been an interesting, kind of like a perfect storm of things, different factors that have been coming around on Capitol Hill. When you consider Israel, when you consider the timing of needing to keep the government funding, and the fact that they just did not have a lot of momentum for one single person in their caucus. I think that's something to really listen out for when you are listening to these statements these members are making when they say why they flipped. You're not seeing any sort of really enthusiasm.
Time for me to refill the coffee before we get ready. Probably going to get some speeches here in a couple minutes.
Talk to us about Jim Jordan's record and what he's done in the House. And he's really been that pusher, that gadfly, the critic, sometimes the yeller, often the yeller. What happens when sort of the dog that chases the car actually catches the car? What do we know about what a Speaker Jim Jordan would look like and act like?
That is a very open question right now for both Republicans and Democrats because he has not been in this type of leadership role. He does, of course, head up the House Judiciary Committee, which is a very big committee and a chairmanship that's important here in the House, but no one really knows that leadership style. And just for background, you know, Jim Jordan, he was elected in 2007, and he
love everything bagels.
He did found the Freedom Caucus, and he was somewhat the Matt Gaetz of the day.
I have some everything seasoning in there.
He is on the further right, and we also remember that it was very public when he became the ranking member in some of the relevant.
Do you recommend everybody go grab a snack, have a lunch packed? It could be a long day.
America met Jim Jordan as sort of that attack dog who was there deployed to be that face for advocacy for the former president. That's really what a lot of people, including some members, know of him, is that aggressive stance. So how will he be in a position like this? That remains to be seen. And I think that's why you've been seeing so many questions from members of his own caucus about what his leadership style might be at a really critical time.
James, I want to talk more about why Democrats are critical of James Jordan. Of Jim Jordan. There are obviously concerns about his tactics. They're on polar opposites in terms of what they believe and what they want to see happen in this country.
James, Jim, Justin, Jason, I've been called them all.
What he was doing on January 6th and in advance of January 6th when the Capitol was attacked. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Democrats. Ken Buck, the Republican congressman from Colorado, who, you know, for those who remember the 2010 elections, was the Tea Party guy from Colorado who lost because he was too conservative. He has been out there saying he doesn't want to vote for Jim Jordan until he acknowledges publicly that Joe Biden won the 2020 election. But to what actually happened in 2020? Now, both Kevin McCarthy and Jim Jordan, among the majority of House Republicans, voted to overturn the 2020 election, to not certify.
J-Dub, good luck in your meetings.
But Jim Jordan was actively working with Trump. McCarthy and others kind of reluctantly went along.
I've got work to do, but we're here doing this.
Calls with the White House. He was strategizing with Trump's lawyers. He was very much supportive of what they called the Stop the Steal movement. And
I stayed up until about 4 o'clock last night,
kind of
doing everything I needed to do in order to clear the schedule for this morning.
Trying to push other House Republicans to go along, and very much an ally of Trump. And indeed, he is a current endorser and supporter of Donald Trump during a contested Republican presidential primary. And there is some concern among some of the other campaigns that he will use his perch as speaker, if he gets it, to help Trump, to boost Trump.
He will. The Democrats are going to use him as speaker
from today
to fundraise and to fearmonger, and rightfully fearmonger.
You had this temporary deal
about the MAGA extremists.
And Trump.
Funding the government.
Funding the government, exactly.
Not getting it to the edge, not the brinksmanship, not the scare tactics.
Like fuzzy face.
Right up to the deadline. It was the deal making.
Right. And you know, Matt Gaetz just
also don't know if I told you good afternoon.
What used to be Twitter a few minutes ago, walking with Jim Jordan today, and they're both all smiles. Make no mistake, if Jim Jordan becomes speaker today, maybe not on the first ballot or the second or the third, that is a huge win for Matt Gaetz. It's not like McCarthy was replaced by a like-minded member of leadership. This is kind of the House Freedom Caucus getting one of their own in charge. And so what's interesting, the dynamic here is that the people who Jordan needs to sway to get where he needs are the people who are most persuadable by the argument that we need a Speaker of the House, that with what's going on in Israel, with the government shutdown looming in exactly a month, that someone that a Speaker Jordan is better
November
than
17th.
Speaker. And so that argument does have purchase with some of those people I was talking about on the Armed Services Committee a couple minutes ago, or on the Foreign Affairs Committee, or on appropriations, that they want some certainty. And is that enough to get Jordan over the top? I don't think it will on the first ballot, but that could get him there.
We're getting there, Warlord. We're getting there.
It wouldn't have gotten, if it was a more
Probably going to get a couple of speeches beforehand.
Gates wouldn't care
Right.
and wouldn't be persuaded to vote
Mitochondria.
for Scalise
Good morning.
because of that reality.
It's such a good point.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.
Each other, but there are
In
some
the time
members of
zone.
the Republican caucus who say no. You can't reason with me. Like I'm going my way, no matter what. I'm watching out of the corner of my eye as I'm listening to you. Our tally here for the call of the House, the quorum. Rhonda, I want to talk to you more about how Democrats are reacting to news that Jim Jordan is going to be nominated today for the speakership.
Catch everybody up. Apparently, all Democrats are present and one Republican is missing.
We've got 3 no votes yet from Republicans, 1 no vote from Democrat. And so we're looking to see if 4 people will show up and make their presence known here before we move on.
Yeah, that's all correct. And part of this quorum call is, as we've already said, is to kind of take early roll call to see if everybody's present and in the room or on the Hill. But it also doesn't matter in the sense of no matter how many people are in the chamber, the simple majority of those members will be the people who will need to elect a speaker. So there have been previous instances, and I believe it was once with Nancy Pelosi, where all members weren't present, but the vote was taken. And what that means is it just brings down the number of majority members to elect the speaker.
I think you just got a comment.
217, but it will contain all those votes of people who are present today. It appears just anecdotal.
Oh, no, I'm feeling good. I'm well rested.
That no one wants to miss this, even though no one knows what the future is.
I took a nap yesterday, so
this process started. So I think we're just waiting to see what happens next. But no matter how many people are here and say that they are here to vote, that's how many people you'll need to elect the speaker.
Talk to us now about the Democrats.
Other than the Troll Patrol, I don't really have a schedule, so
reacting to the potential of a Jim Jordan as
I just sleep whenever I'm sleepy.
You know, you get the sense that they're still calculating all of that. I spoke with Catherine Clark, who is the minority whip in the House. She had just left a meeting. It's a regular weekly meeting of the Democratic caucus behind closed doors, and it was extended today. And
Curiouser probably didn't come in because of you guys.
For now, and potentially at the end of the day have
you scared off Curiouser.
She said that many members are raising concerns. Many of the concerns we've already listed, of course, his closeness to Trump, the fact that he was subpoenaed by the congressional panel investigating January 6th, and he defied that subpoena. But there are other issues, too, on their minds. His stance on social programs, his stance on abortion. He is harder right. But they also know that they need someone in order to start the business back up of the House. So I did ask her, is there a world where the House Democrats can work with a Jim Jordan? And it does remain to be seen. But she is saying that they want to work in a bipartisan fashion, but they are incredibly aware that this is one of the harder right members that the Republican caucus could put forward. So you can sense that they are calculating what the future holds just for the chamber overall and how they will be equipped to work with him.
Yeah, James, there are 2 different calculations. There's the politics, and then there's the functionality of Congress.
And to the question of, will Jim Jordan be able to work with Democrats? They have to if the government isn't going to default, if the government isn't
that math isn't correct. There's 435 members of Congress.
Being speaker. That's why
there could be 2 open seats.
Sort of
as possible
in the eyes of the kind of Jim Jordan allies on the House Freedom Caucus.
I think we have had a couple of deaths.
You have to make deals. That's what governing is. It's a 2-party system. Democrats control the White House and the Senate. Republicans obviously have a very narrow majority, and so you see all those photo ops where it's Kevin McCarthy sitting in the Oval Office with Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell and Hakeem Jeffries, before that Nancy Pelosi. It is very hard to imagine.
Scott Steiner over here doing some boy math.
Capitol Hill, Jim Jordan sitting in that photo op in the Oval Office where they're actually trying to work out a deal. But there is a school of thought.
I'm not seeing anybody make that meme. Boy math is when you take your 33 and...
When we say moderate, to be clear, they're quite conservative. They're just more moderate than Jim Jordan. That maybe he will be a more effective speaker because he'll be able to wrangle the support of people like Matt Gaetz and others who would never go along with Kevin McCarthy. But that maybe if Jim Jordan is, as you put it so perfectly, the dog who catches up with the truck, then Jim Jordan's going to bring along some of those hardline members, and then maybe they will be able to cut deals and govern. That might be wishful thinking, but that is what someone like Dusty Johnson, a Republican from South Dakota, who's the chair of
Dusty,
one of the 5 families, the Republican Main Street Caucus. That's what he just told a gaggle of reporters, including our colleague Jackie Alamani, right outside.
If you've got a Dusty Johnson, your asshole is probably not very clean either.
Is getting on board.
Yeah,
where's it at?
Fascinating when the outsiders become the insiders. So if not just Jim Jordan, but those 8 members who there was some various reasons and goals for not supporting Kevin McCarthy 2 weeks ago, if they're suddenly brought into the fold more, will they be able to govern? Will they be able to give counsel? Will they be able to not criticize Jordan, even if he does some of the governing that is required of the Speaker of the House?
That said, so again, that's the mentality of a lot of people.
That's what Congressman Johnson's trying to sell people.
When Donald Trump became president, that was also a widespread belief. When you talk to many of these same Republican members, and they said, yeah, Donald Trump said a lot of wild things on the campaign trail, but once you're president, you have to get serious, and you can't shut down the government and all of that. And obviously, Trump didn't really change after he became president.
Justin, did I tell you good afternoon?
But that is sort of the
one of the arguments. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
So we see 2 Republicans at this point. 1 Republican now not voting, and we do know that one.
That is the one missing.
Yeah, and then so that's.
Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Come on.
A Republican from Florida who supports Jordan will be there. We also
tonight we'll be there.
We'll be there tonight.
Yeah, coming back tonight.
He's flying back from a funeral in Florida.
So we're expecting this to go into the night, eh?
Close to wrapping up this quorum call is the number I'm watching for. Is it does seem like Jordan, has gotten momentum. In fact, in the last couple minutes,
1 Republican is missing. Only 1 member of the House missing today. They are attending a funeral.
Jordan on the floor. That's a big get for Jordan. The number I'm watching is 200. That would be short. But Kevin McCarthy got 201 votes on the first ballot and every subsequent
Acting
ballot.
Speaker Patrick McHenry,
I think he'll be in
better known as Bowtie Bitch.
What Congressman Patrick McHenry is doing. This is the temporary Speaker of the House. Let's listen in.
The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Stefanik.
Mr. Speaker Pro Temp, Madam Clerk, colleagues, on behalf of the House Republican Conference, I rise today to nominate the gentleman from Ohio, Jim Jordan, as Speaker of the People's House.
They actually do have a thing, it's in like the back of their chairs, where they can do electronic voting.
We are at a time of great crisis across America, a time of historic challenges in this very chamber, and a time when heinous acts of terror and evil have been committed against our great ally, Israel. As this body convenes for the sacred responsibility to elect the next Speaker of the People's House, I am reminded of the Book of Esther. For such a time is this. Jim Jordan will be America's Speaker for such a time as this. A time when hardworking American families are struggling under the vice of
Book of Esther is like the Apocrypha, isn't it?
Heat or gas because of the trillions and trillions of dollars of reckless spending by failed far-left government. A time when millions are being illegally trafficked and smuggled across our southern and northern borders due to the catastrophic and inhumane wide-open borders of Joe Biden. A time when violent crime is skyrocketing across America, destroying our great cities, suburbs, and small towns,
Old Testament?
where people no longer feel safe in their homes or in their communities. A time when American energy production has been crushed by Joe Biden's radical, failed, far-left policies, causing seniors, farmers, and
I used to think she was kind of cute.
And struggle with
Then I heard her talk.
Utility bills. A time when the federal government is weaponized against we the people, who they are supposed to serve, stripping us of our God-given constitutional rights and wrongfully targeting conservatives, Catholics, and even parents at school board meetings. And a time when the people of our closest and most precious ally, Israel, suffered the bloodiest day since the Holocaust, with acts of inhumane evil committed by Hamas terrorists backed by Iran, grotesque atrocities. the beheadings of babies, rapes, kidnappings.
That didn't happen.
Women, children, and the elderly.
Don't make me tap the meme.
Americans taken hostage. We are here in this very chamber for such a time as this. Jim Jordan will be We the People speaker.
Got another one for you.
A time as this. Our friend and colleague Jim Jordan is a patriot. He is an America First warrior.
40 beheaded babies? Yes. May I see them? No.
Accountability at the highest levels of government on behalf of we, the people. Jim is the voice of the American people who have felt voiceless for far too long. Whether as Judiciary Chair, conservative leader, or representative for his constituents in West Central Ohio, whether on the wrestling mat or in the committee room, Jim Jordan is strategic, scrappy, tough, and principled. He is a mentor, a worker, and above all, he is a fighter. And the American
really don't want to think you want to call attention to his time as a wrestling coach.
Winner on behalf of the American people.
Chainsaw, good afternoon.
Years ago, many of us sat with our colleague Jim Jordan in this very chamber. When Prime Minister
You got here just in time. We just started the
which some
floor debate.
colleagues across the aisle shamefully boycotted. Bibi pointed out that in this very chamber, we serve under the watchful gaze of Moses. He said, quote, "Overlooking all of us in this chamber is the image of Moses. And before the people of Israel entered the land of Israel, Moses gave us a message that has steeled our resolve for thousands of years. Be strong and resolute, neither fear nor dread them." He went on to say, "My friends, may Israel and America always stand together, strong and resolute. May we neither fear nor dread the challenges ahead. May we face the future with confidence, strength, and hope." End quote. On behalf of the American
Moses wasn't even real, was he?
face the future.
Like there's no historical evidence that Moses was an actual person, correct?
Speaker of the People's House.
I could be wrong on that.
A time as this, and I yield back.
Netanyahu is indeed a fascist. Republicans will be lost in the desert for 40 years.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, with great respect for this institution, as chairman of the Democratic Caucus, I am directed by the vote of that caucus to present for election to the office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives the name of the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, the pride of Crown Heights, a representative from the state of New York.
Moses is mythical. There's no evidence of them being slaves in Egypt because Egypt didn't keep slaves.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, this is not the history we wanted to make here in the House. It's something that none of us imagined when we were sworn in to this office. We are here because the House has been thrown into chaos. We are here because this hallowed chamber has been led to a breaking point by two dangerous forces: extremism and partisanship. The American people place their faith in us to tackle their most pressing issues: lowering costs, growing the middle class, and standing up to those set on delivering a national abortion ban. The choice before
So glad we're appealing to fairy tales on the floor of the House.
Forward or take us over the cliff. Abandon the extremism that is preventing us from getting things done, or triple down on division and dysfunction. A vote today to make the architect of a nationwide abortion ban a vocal election denier and an insurrection insider to the Speaker.
I had a history professor basically put it like this. If you lived in Egypt, you had to work for your food, and some people might consider that sounding like slavery.
Mr. Speaker, it would.
But apparently you could come and go as you pleased.
that the very people who would seek to undermine democracy
But if you were there, you got put to work.
of immense power.
Moses demands macaroni art.
Talking about someone who has spent his entire career trying to hold our country back, putting our national security in danger, attempting government shutdown after government shutdown, wasting
We could still be here well into the night, Dustin.
dead ends, authoring the very bill that would ban abortion nationwide without exceptions, and inciting violence on this chamber. Even leaders of his own party have called him a legislative terrorist. He once said, quote, "I didn't come to Congress to make more laws." His words speak for themselves. When New Yorkers recovering from Hurricane Sandy needed Congress to act, he said no. When wildfires ravaged the West, destroying homes and businesses, and those residents needed disaster assistance, he said no. When the Mississippi River floods devastated the South and communities across state lines needed Congress to act, he said no.
Tried to get in on it.
When our veterans were suffering from disease and dying as a result of their service to our country, and Congress passed a bipartisan solution, he said no. When our ally in Ukraine looked to Congress for additional support to help defeat Putin, he
said no.
And just before Hamas's brutal terrorist attack on Israel, he said no to fully funding military aid for our ally. This body is debating elevating a speaker nominee who has not passed a single bill in 16 years. These are not the actions of someone interested in governing or bettering the lives of everyday Americans. This is nothing less than the rejection of the oath that we swore to uphold as duly elected members of this body. But on this side of the aisle and throughout this chamber, I'm convinced our oath still matters. To fulfill our obligations to the American people, we have no choice today but to vote for a leader of both character and conviction. When the Congress first began, we proudly stood next to him as our leader and made a promise to every American. House Democrats would work to find common ground on the issues that matter most to the American people whenever possible. That we would stand up to extremism whenever necessary. Only Hakeem Jeffries can be trusted to keep his word. Only Hakeem Jeffries can lead us out of the chaos and towards a path of governance. It brings me immense pride to nominate our friend, the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, as Speaker. I'm not done yet.
Hakeem Jeffries would be a fantastic Republican speaker.
He is also the candidate with the most credibility. If the goal is to continue a 30-year march to hollow out our democratic institutions, weaken our democracy, and embolden extremists, there's a candidate for you. If the goal is to continue taking marching orders from a twice-impeached former president with more than 90 pending felony charges, then there is a candidate for you. The world is watching, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Our allies in Ukraine and Israel are watching and waiting. So let's have this vote, but let's be clear. A vote for the gentleman from Ohio is a vote to turn your back on national security. It's a vote to turn your back on a bipartisan path to fund the government and avoid shutdowns, something we can only do if we reject his nomination. House Democrats are in the minority. We realize that. If House Republicans wanted to elect a speaker without us, then they could have.
Smokey is enthralled.
There's still a path forward for both Democrats and Republicans to come together to elect a speaker who can unite us behind a common purpose, keeping the government open on a bipartisan compromise that won more than 300 votes just 4 months ago in this chamber, taking up an up or down vote on help so Israel can defeat Hamas and Ukraine can defeat Putin, and reassuring the American people that their legislators have their backs. It's that simple, Mr. Speaker, and we can do it today. Let's work together. Let's elect a speaker who will reach out, a hand of bipartisanship, and deliver for the American people. That is why, once again, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I'm proud to nominate Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker and yield back.
DJ Dub, I think there is no worry of that. Or if that were to happen, it would be with a joint power sharing agreement. And that we can all go for.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman yields back. The names of the Honorable Jim Jordan, a representative from the state of Ohio, and the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, a representative from the state of New York, have been placed in nomination. Are there further nominations?
Yeah, speaking of Dark Brandon,
there being no further nominations,
the Biden campaign yesterday launching their Truth Social account.
The gentleman from New York, Mr. Morelli. The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Loudermilk. The gentlewoman from Alabama, Ms. Sewell. The tellers will come forward and take their seats at the desk in front of the Speaker's rostrum.
Joe Biden taking a page from Justin Freakin's book. Justin Freakin joined Truth Social 2 days ago. Dark Brandon follows the next day. Yes, the Biden campaign joined Truth Social, and they're actually like really funny on there.
Heard these nominating speeches for Jim Jordan and Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries, of course, the leading Democrat in the House, and so all Democrats are supporting him, expected to vote for him as they have been doing. James, let's talk about this process right now.
So now we're going to have these members who are from the House.
Well, the Biden campaign
chosen. Steele there from Wisconsin is the Republican chairman of the administration committee. He'll count the votes. They'll both keep a tally. They're going to do an audible roll call vote. They're going to start alphabetically. And so we will know pretty early whether...
I'm not saying that clinically.
Lose.
I feel like that could get me banned from somewhere.
Ken Buck, who's told our colleagues he does not plan to vote for Jordan, Don Bacon, Mario Diaz-Balart. You could have no votes early, so it'll be pretty clear he's not going to get it on the first ballot. On the other hand, if there's a surprise and some of those members vote for Jordan, that could mean that he's in a position.
I agree with that, and that's why I'm pro-birth control and pro-abortion.
Homan, and I have Rhonda Colvin with us live on Capitol Hill. Rhonda, Jim Jordan cannot afford to lose many Republicans, can he?
It does not look like he has the votes. This vote is meaningless.
If this is going to go into another round. I'm sitting here looking at the House floor, and just it feels like deja vu. This was the same process. I sat in the House gallery the full week of Kevin McCarthy's election to Speaker, and it's sort of like you're holding your breath because we didn't know then either when looking at the roster who would be yay or nay for McCarthy.
Is that the newest Ben & Jerry's flavor?
Because Jordan cannot lose more than 4. So, of course, we know Buck is at the beginning of the alphabet. We know Bacon is at the beginning of the alphabet. We'll be able to sense where this is going pretty soon. And, of course, we also know that all Democrats are unified and have been since January, that they will vote for Hakeem Jeffries. And from what I have been hearing here, and from history's sake, I don't think we would expect many of them to vote for it.
Sparkle sent me a meme, and I thought it was about Palestinians, but it turned out it was a pro Prince Bonesaw, Mohammed bin Salman meme.
Here who the Republicans support. Now, we'll, of course, pay attention to the Democrats as well. But
her and her weird crushes.
We expect them to all vote for Jeffries, and so the question will be, are the Republicans unified? Are even 200 of them unified?
House, come to order.
And are enough of them unified to get Jim Jordan over the threshold he needs?
Is there a path?
Is there a path?
The roll will now be called, and those responding to their names will indicate by surname the nominee of their choosing. The reading clerk will now call the roll.
Kelly, good afternoon. Nope, you got here just in time. We just started the vote.
Adderholt. Jordan.
Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford.
Oh, yes, I will have to pull up a counter again, won't I?
Allen. Jordan. Allred. Jeffries. Amode. Jordan. Armstrong. Jordan. Arrington. Jordan. Auchincloss. Jeffries.
Hold on, I'll have to fix this up here.
Jordan. Bacon. McCarthy. Baird. Jordan. Balderson. Jordan. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. Jordan. Barr.
I don't know that that's going to work. Hold
Jordan. Bedagan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. Jordan. Beatty.
I have to do this a different way.
Bentz. Jordan. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman.
Old Bergman.
Beyer. Jeffries. Bice.
Give me 1 second, I'll have it for you, don't worry.
Biggs. Jordan.
So far, there's one vote against.
Bilirakis. Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. Jordan. Blumenauer. Jeffries. Blunt Rochester. Jeffries. Bobert. Jordan. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bast. Jordan. Bowman. Jeffries. Boyle of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Burkeen. Jordan. Brown. Jeffries. Brownlee. Jeffries. Buchanan. Jordan. Buck. Buck.
You're not even going to vote?
Bouchon. Jordan. Budzinski. Jeffries. Burchett. Jordan. Burgess. Jordan. Burleson. Jordan. Bush. Jeffries. Calvert. Jordan. Kamick. Jordan. Caraveo.
So you now have the vote count down in the bottom right-hand corner, courtesy of CNN.
Jeffries. Cardenas. Cardenas. Carey. Jordan. Carl. Jordan. Carson. Jeffries. Carter of Georgia. Jordan. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries. Carter of Texas. Jordan. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries.
Who sticks around for the credits of a porno?
Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez DeReamer. McCarthy.
McCarthy. I think that takes us to 3.
Shearfillis McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Siscomani. Jordan. Clark of Massachusetts.
Someone has a kink. I mean, what is that, rule number 43?
Clark of New York.
Somebody's got a kink for it, if it exists.
Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein.
Rule number 34, I'm sorry.
Cloud. Jordan. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Jordan. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. Jordan. Collins. Jordan. Comer. Jordan. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Jeffries. Costa.
Apparently CNN had already counted that one vote, so
Courtney.
still standing at 2.
Craig.
Oh, that was a Democrat.
Jeffries. Crane. Jordan. Crawford. Jordan. Crenshaw.
Crenshaw. I would give anything in the world to piss in Dan Crenshaw's open eye hole.
Jeffries.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Curtis. Jordan.
The Republicans just didn't like that snide remark about insurrectionists.
Jeffries.
Jeffries in the lead as of right now.
Jordan. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries. Davis of North Carolina. Jeffries. Dean of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. DeGette. Jeffries.
I believe it is 4, with one Republican not on the House floor. That makes it 4.
DeLauro.
Jason Derulo.
Delbene.
I just found out last night, apparently Jason Derulo is just a YouTuber who steals other people's content now.
DeSaulnier.
Plays his music over it.
Desjardins. Jordan. D'Esposito.
Lee Zeldin.
Zelton.
Lee Zeldin. Interesting. John, good afternoon. I don't know. Are they really going to do this all day? Did somebody vote for Steve Scalise? It's over. There's no Jim Jordan.
Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries.
We're not even at the D's, and I'm
Jordan.
assuming there are still a handful.
Duarte. Jordan. Duncan. Jordan.
You see CNN. There you go.
Jordan. Edwards. Jordan. Elsie. Garcia.
There's another one. It is certain Jim Jordan is not Speaker of the House, at least on this ballot. I do not know how we move forward. What's the point of continuing to vote?
Emmer. Jordan. Escobar. Jeffries.
This has been a waste of everybody's time.
Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes.
I would assume they're going to recess.
Evans. Jeffries. Ezel. Jordan. Fallon. Jordan. Feenstra. Jordan. Ferguson. Jordan. Finstad.
Voting will continue until morale improves.
Fishbach. Jordan. Fitzgerald. Jordan. Fitzpatrick. Jordan. Fleischman. Jordan. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. Jordan. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries.
Fushi? Is Mike Patton the lead singer of that band?
Lois Frankel. Jeffries.
Well, there's clearly going to have to be some vote whipping done.
Franklin. Jordan. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. Jordan. Fulcher. Jordan.
It's still theoretically possible that Hakeem Jeffries wins this.
Jordan.
Matt Gaetz votes for Jim Jordan.
Jordan. Gallego. Jeffries. Garamendi. Jeffries. Garbarino. Zeldin.
Another one for Lee Zeldin. Republican representative from New York.
Mike Garcia. Jordan. Robert Garcia. Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois. Jeffries. Garcia of Texas. Jeffries.
I knew today wouldn't be boring.
McCarthy.
Jim Jordan now has 69 votes. Nice. Someone voted for McCarthy again.
Golden of Maine. Jeffries. Goldman of New York. Jeffries. Gomez.
I don't know who would appease the holdouts. If you can't elect Kevin McCarthy and you can't elect Jim Jordan, you can't elect Steve Scalise. Who the fuck are you going? Fuck. This is absolutely pointless.
Vicente Gonzalez. Jeffries. Good of Virginia. Jordan. Gooden of Texas. Jordan.
Jim Jordan looks very anxious.
Jordan. Gottheimer. Jeffries. Granger. Granger. Scalise.
Jim Jordan is far away from being able to win this. We're what, halfway through? Not even halfway through.
Jordan. Graves of Missouri. Jordan. Green of Tennessee. Jordan.
Green of Georgia.
Green of Texas.
Oh, nope. Another one.
Jeffries. Green of Georgia. Jordan. Griffith. Jordan. Grijalva. Jeffries.
Warlord, I've got comments from Trump that we're going to play whenever we catch a break here.
Guest. Jordan.
We're going to see if he violated that gag order on his way to court this morning.
Hageman. Jordan. Harder of California. Jeffries. Harris. Jordan. Harshbarger. Jordan. Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn. Jordan. Higgins of Louisiana.
Everybody came to watch this. Why would I play Trump?
Higgins of New York.
We'll have some dead air here in a little bit. Don't worry.
Jordan.
This is like a 10-minute clip.
Himes. Jeffries. Henson. Jordan. Horsford.
I got your Trump right here, son.
Houchin. Jordan. Houlihan. Jeffries.
Also, Justin got off the stream last night and saw that he had yet another strike on YouTube.
Hoyle of Oregon.
They accused me of playing a past event and passing it off as present, whatever the fuck that means.
Huffman.
But I won my appeal.
Huizinga. Jordan. Hunt.
I thought maybe it was the thing about the Gaza tunnels. Because we did play a video that was like from 10 years ago where they were going through the tunnels.
Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries.
If you think you saw me on Twitch, no you fucking didn't.
Jeffries. Jackson of Texas.
I did not create another account and have not been saying hi to my friends on Twitch lately.
Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. James. Jayapal. Jeffries. Jeffries. Jeffries.
Oh, sit the fuck down. You didn't do anything.
Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Jordan. Johnson of Ohio. Jordan. Johnson of South Dakota. Jordan. Jordan. Jordan.
Oh, sit the fuck down. He's gonna lose. Clap for the loser. Clap for the loser.
Joyce of Ohio.
It looks like there's gonna be around 15 votes, if I had to guess.
Joyce of Ohio.
About halfway through the alphabet at this point.
Jordan. Camlager Dove. Jeffries. Captor.
Liberty first. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Kane of New Jersey. Jordan. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. Jordan. Kelly of Pennsylvania.
The Honorable Steve
Scalise. Khanna. Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. McCarthy. Kildee.
Oh, Kildee.
Jeffries. Kiley. Jordan. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. Jordan. Kim of New Jersey. Jeffries. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries. Custer. Jeffries. Kustoff. Jordan. LaHood.
Damn it, CNN.
Jordan. LaLota. Zeldin.
We may get close to 20.
Okay.
Flash, good evening.
LaMalfa. Lamborn. Jordan. Landsman. Jeffries.
Did they think this through? Or are we getting ready to see a Speaker of the House elected?
Jordan.
And it actually be Hakeem Jeffries?
Larson of Washington.
Yeah, Jordan could only afford to lose 4 votes, and
Jeffries.
We're up to 12 now.
Latta. Jordan.
And it seems like we're getting into the territory where Hakeem Jeffries might actually come out with the majority.
Lawler.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. Jordan. Lee of Nevada.
I mean, it would be an absolute embarrassment to the Republicans if Hakeem Jeffries was elected Speaker today.
Lee of Pennsylvania.
I do need to point out, members can change their vote up until the gavel falls.
Jeffries. Lesko. Jordan. Letlow. Jordan. Levin. Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren. Jeffries. Loudermilk.
No, Jeffries needs a simple majority.
Jordan. Lutkemeyer. Jordan. Luna. Jordan. Luttrell. Jordan. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. Jordan. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. Jordan. Mann. Jordan. Manning. Jeffries. Massey. Jordan. Mast. Jordan. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath.
Maybe like it's a majority of the chamber. Maybe you're right, yeah. Like 216 votes.
McCall.
Jordan.
Jordan. McLean. Jordan. McClellan. Jeffries. McClintock.
My apologies.
Jordan.
Math is confusing.
McCullum.
And I'm totally not good at math.
But then you
Jeffries.
take my 75% chance of winning and then add 66 and 2/3
McCormick.
percent. I got 141
Jordan.
and 2/3 chance of winning.
McGarvey. Jeffries. McGovern. Jeffries. McHenry.
It is a simple majority. I'm just an idiot as to what that means.
Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez.
This could end with Trump as speaker. That's possible.
Mang. Jeffries. Muser. Jordan. Mfume. Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. Jordan. Miller of Ohio.
I
Jordan.
believe it's 216 because of the one missing Republican.
Virginia. Jordan.
Some folks have said we're already in a civil war.
Jordan. Mills. Jordan. Molinaro. Jordan. Molinar. Jordan. Mooney. Jordan. Moore of Alabama. Jordan. Moore of
Well,
Utah.
Trump wouldn't win this vote, but like,
Jordan.
if the Republicans can't decide on somebody,
Jeffries.
they nominate Trump.
Moran.
They all decide on Trump.
Jordan.
He said he would take the speakership temporarily.
Jeffries. Moskowitz. Jeffries.
The Republicans are almost certain to lose the House next year.
Jeffries. Moran. Jeffries. Mullen. Jeffries. Murphy.
And we are in a weird position where, like,
Nadler.
it looks like the worst case scenario for the Democrats is that they will win the House but lose the Senate next year because of the unfavorable map.
Jeffries. Nagoose. Jeffries. Nails. Jordan.
Title would be Speaker of the House.
Jordan.
Yeah, Trump feels like it would be good for his
Jeffries.
legal battles to be Speaker of the House.
Jeffries. Norman. Jordan. None of Iowa. Jordan.
None your business. Is there anything in my bong? Not enough for this shit.
Jordan. Ocasio-Cortez. Jeffries. Ogles. Jordan. Omar. Omar. Jeffries.
Bad.
Owens. Jordan. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. Jordan. Panetta. Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pasquale. Jeffries. Payne.
Gentleman from New York, Hakeem
Jeffries. Pelosi. Jeffries. Pelton.
I can't believe she's running for re-election. Jim Jordan did not get it on this round. I believe they are clapping for Patola because her husband died in a plane crash. CNN just did away with the counter. They're like, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Pence. Jordan. Perez. Jeffries.
Sorry, the counter went away.
Perry. Jordan. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger.
And I'm amazed they're still in a hospital in Gaza, to be honest with you.
Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries.
Well, that was kind of an issue. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's back.
Jeffries.
They've got their counter back up now.
Posey. Jordan. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley.
Acuna Matata Jeffries.
Jeffries. Ramirez. Jeffries. Raskin.
That was really racist of me, wasn't it? Cancel me.
Jordan. Rogers of Washington. Jordan. Rogers of Alabama. Jordan. Rogers of Kentucky. Jordan.
Why does that make me sick?
Rose. Jordan.
I could have been like Hasadiga Egawan.
Jordan. Ross. Jeffries. Rouser. Jordan. Roy. Jordan. Ruiz. Jeffries. Rupersberger. Jeffries. Rutherford.
The lettuce would be there's another vote for Scalise. So I was wrong in saying it was going to be around 15. It looks like it's going to be closer to 20. The lettuce would be a fantastic Speaker of the House.
Salazar.
Or at least in relation to Republicans.
Salinas. Jeffries. Sanchez. Jeffries. Santos. Jordan. Sarbanes. Jeffries. Scalise. Jordan.
Oh, sit the fuck down. He didn't do anything.
Scanlon. Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries. Schiff. Jeffries. Schneider. Jeffries. Skolton. Jeffries. Schreier. Jeffries. Schweikert. Jordan. Austin Scott. Jordan.
Perhaps he was one of the holdouts.
David Scott. Jeffries. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. Jordan. Sessions. Jordan. Sewell.
There is no Sewell, only... No, I fucked that one up. There is no Dana, only Sewell.
Cheryl. Jeffries. Simpson. Scalise.
Another one for Scalise.
Slotkin. Jeffries. Smith of Missouri. Jordan. Smith of Nebraska. Jordan. Smith of New Jersey. Jordan. Smith of Washington. Jeffries.
I love that movie so much.
Jordan. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries. Spanberger. Jeffries. Sparks.
Dickless over here.
Sparks. Stansbury. Jeffries. Stanton. Jeffries. Stauber. Jordan.
I may be alone in this, but I liked Afterlife.
Steele. Jordan.
Thought it started off kind of slow, but man, it was worth it by the end.
Style. Jordan. Stubbe. Jordan. Stevens. Jeffries. Strickland. Jeffries. Strong. Jordan. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Takano. Jeffries. Tenney. Jordan. Tanadar. Jeffries. Thompson of California. Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Tiffany. Jordan. Timmons. Jordan. Titus. Jeffries. Talib. Jeffries. Takuda. Jeffries.
This is the vote on Speaker of the House, and Jim Jordan has lost.
Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries.
So I don't. This is the first vote, Flash.
Trahan. Jeffries. Trump.
But I don't know what they're going to do if they're going to.
Turner. Jordan.
The policy idea Jeffries has me excited about. No, you. The more I hear Jeffries speak, the more I dislike him.
Valadeo. Jordan.
Our good friends Israel.
Van Drew.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I know you're like you're representative from what, Queens? There's a lot of Jewish people in your constituency.
Van Orden.
Not because he's black, warlord. I'm not a racist.
Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez.
I predicted that it would be around 15 votes that Jim Jordan. I am from the South, that's true. But I am from Kentucky, and we fought for the North.
Wagner.
Go fuck yourself.
Jordan.
And even in the area of Tennessee that I'm sitting in, they wanted to secede from the state of Tennessee because they fought for the North.
Jordan.
So go fuck yourself.
Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters.
Oh, you're saying over under on how many ballots it's going to take? Why would they keep doing this? I just don't know.
Jeffries. Watson Coleman. Jeffries. Weber of Texas. Jordan.
Fucking Jim Jordan is not even going to get as many votes as Hakeem Jeffries. I'll call him Jim Jeffries. Completely different guy.
Westerman. Jordan. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries. Williams of Georgia.
Jim Jeffries is a comedian who tells a hilarious story about taking his friend that was paralyzed with muscular dystrophy
Williams
to a whorehouse Cracks me up every time I hear it.
Wilson of Florida. Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. Jordan. Whitman. Jordan. Womack. Scalise. Yakum. Jordan. Zinke.
James Daniel Jordan of Ohio.
Jordan.
James Daniel Jordan. I'd be upset if somebody called me by my full name. Be like, only my mama does that when she's mad. Are they going to go to another ballot? Or are they going to call a recess?
There are a handful of members who have not yet voted, so those names will be called again here in a moment. But the news is in. Jim Jordan does not have enough votes to become Speaker of the House, even though the tally is not final and there are still a handful of people who can vote because they missed in the first round or just stayed mum basically in that first round. But Jim Jordan is well away from the threshold he needs. He needs 217 votes to become Speaker. Democrats remained unified in all voting for Hakeem Jeffries, the leader.
That looks like the way forward is to do a joint power sharing agreement, but I just feel like Republicans ain't going to do that.
Upwards of a dozen, around 20 or so. We're still waiting.
It's like McCarthy could have avoided all of this.
Yep. Let's listen now to the rest of the vote here.
The House will come to order. The reading clerk will now call the names of the members who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Bilirakis. Bilirakis.
That's the one that's missing. He's at a funeral.
Emmer. Cardenas. Jeffries.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a speaker today. I don't know what the course of action is following this vote.
Cole.
Yeah, we're going to get up closer to 20.
Mr. Joyce of Ohio.
Joyce of Ohio. Jordan. LaMalfa. McCarthy.
Well, the Senate is doing business right now. They are apparently
Sparks.
attempting to pass an appropriation bill to give funds to Israel.
Those are all the members who didn't vote in that first round, James. Now, we already know that Gus Bilirakis is absent today. He's at a funeral. He plans to be back tonight. He supports Jim Jordan, but
that's not going to be enough
to give that support. And we saw a mixed bag in terms of who the others supported in that second opportunity. This will stay open for a little while. So I want you to break down for us which coalitions voted which way. But I want to go to Rhonda Colvin first for this major headline. Jim Jordan has fallen short in his first attempt to become Speaker. Rhonda, let's talk about what that means for the day and the rest of the prospects. And I'll say again, We don't have the official tally yet, but we know that enough people did not vote for Jim Jordan that
Plenty enough.
Couldn't hit that threshold. What does it mean for the rest of the day and for his prospects as Speaker?
Well, it means anything can happen at this point. Just going back for historical context, when this happened, when the former Speaker McCarthy was elected, sometimes they went right back into a round. Sometimes they took a short break. Sometimes they adjourned for the day to go, behind the scenes and do some vote counts. This tells you, because he really did fall short of the number that he needed, that there is really some hardened feelings against him.
Is Jordan McCarthy conferencing?
The reason why the GOP caucus met behind closed doors all last week was to avoid this thing, to avoid going on the floor and having this play out in public. So for this to happen shows you that there are a number of folks who just have not been talked in to the potential of a Jim Jordan speakership. So right now we've got to wait for the clerk to officially announce the tally. Jeffries, having the full support of Democrats, actually has a few more votes than Jordan if you don't count the people who haven't been counted or the people who voted for other people. But we're all waiting for this to all shake out and for us to get a final tally. But this situation is exactly what the House GOP wanted to avoid, having this be a public situation where they now in real time have to whip votes and go in the hallway and talk to some of these members about coming over to the Jordan side. There are some routes they could take if this does play out into a day-long, week-long situation. I've heard GOP members float the idea of possibly brokering a deal with Democrats, figuring out if there is a consensus candidate that both sides to agree so they could get some Democrat votes for a speaker. That, of course, is a little far right now, but again, anything can happen. We expected this somewhat because after last night's GOP caucus meeting, there were people who said they just had not yet been convinced about Jordan. So
I wouldn't understand the
Thank you so much, Wanda. James, we
wanting to get Democratic votes.
to have floated
Because the ask of Kevin McCarthy to get Democratic votes wasn't that much.
Jeffries, and the Democrats. And then from the Republicans, every now and then you'd hear Scalise, you'd hear McCarthy, you'd hear Thomas Massey there from Victoria's Parts at the very end. Talk to us about why we're hearing different names first.
And a non-member of the House, Lee Zeldin, a former member that several members, at least two members.
Oh, Zeldin isn't even in the House anymore.
Anthony D'Esposito and Andrew Garbarino.
He had ran for governor.
Lee Zeldin was the Republican nominee for governor in New York last year. So basically, the 20 no votes break into.
I thought he was still in the House. Apparently not.
The New York delegation, very, very important to winning the majority for Republicans last year. They are nervous that Jim Jordan led the fight against funding for New York and New Jersey after Superstorm Sandy in 2012. That he was sort of that the federal government shouldn't be bailing these guys out. And they think that could potentially be a problem. That ties into sort of a connected group, which is the frontliners. These are people who are facing very tough re-election fights in 2024 in swing districts. At least 6 of the 18 House Republicans who represent districts that Joe Biden carried in 2020 voted against Jim Jordan. And I think some of those, that was based on my tally before the last couple of people came in. I think John James represents a district in Michigan that Biden carried, so that number might be slightly higher. But basically, a third of the Republicans in Biden districts see Jim Jordan as a political problem for them and want to create some distance. In some cases, perhaps they're saying, I'll vote against him on the first ballot and be with him later so that they can show they didn't just fall in line. In other cases, some of the opposition seems firmer. The big group and some of the most surprising anti-Jordan votes we heard from are appropriators. These are deal makers. These are people who work, they're called cardinals. The chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Kay Granger from Texas, kind of probably the most powerful House Republican most Americans have never heard of because she controls the money, the purse strings. She voted for Scalise. And so that was a surprising no. And it reflects a fear that Jordan's not going to keep the government open, that he's not going to fund the government, that he's going to be sort of the hardliner he's always been. And so ultimately, I think appropriators and frontliners are the two main groups. And
They
then
bored the shit out of the cats. Both of them are over here like just passed out.
and feel like he was treated really poorly, and allies of Kevin McCarthy who also are angry that a speaker.
Maynard's not even in here. He's not impressed by this shit.
Rhonda, let's talk our viewers through what we're seeing here on the House floor. This vote is not officially closed with the tally done. So talk to us about the actual process of what we're seeing.
Well, before the desk announces the final tally, they want to make sure they've dotted all I's and crossed all T's. This, of course,
Just like for them to go and make a deal with Democrats at this point,
they want to make sure that they've.
the Democrats are in a much better position for a lot more of an ask. They weren't asking for that much in order to vote for McCarthy.
In the outer area of
when Matt Gaetz wanted to bring the vote.
Just kind of that procedural part where we're just waiting for the clerk to announce the final tally.
All they asked for that we really know of, this is all speculation, seemed to be to drop the impeachment inquiry against Biden.
Against him this time was symbolic and can be convinced in the next round. But this is something that we watched back in January where we just don't know what might happen next. When Jim Jordan called for this vote to be held today, there was that question of why now? Because he and other Republicans said they wanted to avoid this. They wanted to just have one simple vote on the speakership and not let this play out like it did with Kevin McCarthy. So again, they have now been hit with the reality that this is going to go into another round at the very least.
Republicans in reality, they don't go well together. Together.
See what happens next.
The magic number that someone needs today is 217. Jim Jordan fell far short of that because he had 20 Republicans defect and vote for other candidates. Not go to the Democratic side of the aisle, of course, but vote for other Republican alternatives. You had said 200 was a key number that you were watching.
And that's about where he is. It appears that he's just about 200, 201.
So if he'd fallen far short of that, would you have been...
You'd think that the dam might break the other way, that you would have people who don't like Jordan and felt like he had the momentum saying, oh, I don't know. This is basically where Kevin McCarthy started on the first round. I don't think that there is the same appetite for going 15 rounds the way that there was for McCarthy because Jim Jordan doesn't have the relationships and the whip operation. People don't like him as much. The problem is that there's not a clear alternative. You know, if you don't support Jim Jordan, who is it? It's not like the 20 votes were all for McCarthy or Scalise, and there was this sort of mix. And some names that, someone like Tom Cole, who was potentially interested in running for speaker, another appropriator, rules committee chairman, kind of an old school Republican. And so now, you have some of the people like Scalise have left the chamber to go to their offices. We're going to get the tally. Jordan is talking to some of the appropriators. One of our reporters in the chamber saw him go and shake Mike Simpson's hand, who we were talking about before the vote started, an appropriator, sort of an establishment Republican from Idaho. Scalise is maybe saying, look, I know I didn't get you the first time, but what can I do to get you the second time? So Jordan is trying to get there.
All right, let's listen in. Again, he lost 20 Republicans. He can only afford to lose a handful, James. So we expect him to be right around that 200 mark that you were having us pay attention to before this vote took place. But he's
the tellers
far
agree
from
in
the
their tallies
217 needed.
That the total number of votes cast is 432, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 200 votes. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212 votes.
Now, I endorse that applause because that's really fucking sticking it to the Republicans.
The state of California has received 6 votes. Lee Zeldin of the state of New York has received 3. The Honorable Steve Scalise of the state of Louisiana has received 7.
Yeah, that one was a fun troll applause.
Of the state of California has received 1. The Honorable Tom Emmer of the state of Minnesota has received 1. The Honorable Tom Cole of the state of Oklahoma has received 1. The Honorable Thomas Massey of the state of Kentucky has received 1. no person having received a majority of the whole number of votes cast by surname, a speaker has not been elected. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess subject to the call of the chair.
Yeah, so we're going to recess, and we don't even know
listening to see when
they'll come back
in and resume this process. The assumption is that Jim Jordan will go at it again. He knew he might fall short here, James. Part of this is tactics, right? Figuring out who they can convince at this point, what they need to convince them. Are there incentives? Are they promises they can make? Everything from no, we won't take the government to a
Warlord would like to see the Trump clip that I had from this morning. We can do that as we are waiting for word. We're probably going to go ahead and wrap it up here in a minute and possibly come back. Possibly tonight, possibly later this afternoon. Who fucking knows? We're playing it by ear today because Republicans don't even know what the fuck they're doing. This is totally not normal. This is uncharted territory. This has never happened in the history of the country. This is the longest we've ever gone without a Speaker of the House. So this was this morning as Trump was on his way to the fraud trial in New York.
Sir, you want to do a definition later today? Yes, I will be. What's the response to Jackson's Jaguar? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We're at a trial today that should not be taking place. As you know, the head of Deutsche Bank recently just testified, and he said that Trump did nothing wrong. We made a loan. We were very happy with the loan. We got paid back. There were no defaults. It was a very good transaction, and he would do it again. He was a very powerful witness.
See you later on clinically.
Coming in from banks that will say the same thing. This is a disgraceful situation. This is an Attorney General, Letitia, that went out and campaigned on, I will get Trump. I will get Trump no matter what. I'll get Trump. I promise I'll get him. We have 2 tapes on her now that have come out since.
Well, you're a criminal.
People took tapes of her because they couldn't believe her ranting and raving like a lunatic. But just as the Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James, and she shouldn't be allowed to be Attorney General. She's defrauded the public with this trial. She said that Mar-a-Lago, she convinced the judge that Mar-a-Lago was worth, in Palm Beach, Florida, the most expensive land in the world, I guess, and the most expensive houses.
No!
Mar-a-Lago, the biggest house, the most spectacular place in all of Florida, was worth $18 million when it's worth approximately, could be close to 100 times that amount. And based on that testimony, and based on her convincing the judge that Mar-a-Lago was worth $18 million instead of $1 billion to $1 billion, sell very easily, which we've already proven, but we'll have people come up and say that and prove it, the most important people, the brokers that make the sales. But based on that, he ruled against me. He ruled fraud. I mean, he said fraud. They are the fraudulent people because they ruled a house that was worth 18. They put down as worth 18 million, and it's worth maybe close to 100 times that amount. And based on that, they ruled against me, having to do with fraud, which is a big statement. But they are the frauds because the house is worth $1 billion, $1.5 billion. 750 million.
$1.5 billion, 750 million.
You take your 33 and third chance minus my 25% chance. You got an 83rd chance of winning. Based on that, and also Doral. They have Doral at a very low number, and it's worth many times the number that they put. So they chose to do this. So I just want to say the head of Deutsche Bank came in. He said we were great. The loan was great, everything was fine, and it was perfect. And this was their witness, wasn't even my witness. And we have other bankers coming in saying the same thing.
It was the perfect loan.
Got a lot of cash, got a lot of great assets, got some of the greatest real estate assets anywhere in the world. It's really been an honor to have built it, and we worked hard with my family. And my children are involved in this, and they don't deserve to be involved in this. This is a witch hunt by a radical lunatic attorney general that shouldn't be allowed to be an attorney general. He's horrible. And it's very unfair. We don't get a jury trial. There's no jury. And we don't have any jury. Somebody said we could have checked a box or something. We don't check a box. This is a statute that was never used before, never once used before for anything like this. I'm the first one. Isn't that nice? And I should be in Iowa now. I should be in New Hampshire now. I should be in South Carolina now or someplace else campaigning.
He does not have to be at that trial.
We're leading Biden by 11. And that's why they're doing it.
He doesn't have to be there.
Washington. The judge is going to make a decision. Now the judge, I've gotten to respect the judge and like the judge. I like him, but it's not fair because I don't know how he can make a fair decision.
Trying to suck up to the judge now.
Pushing him left and right, pushing him around like a pinball. And it's a very unfair situation that they put me in. I want a jury. I'm entitled to a jury. But this is a case that should have never been brought. And just to conclude, they said I overvalued my financial statements. Well, actually, the financial statements are undervalued by tremendous amounts of money. They're very conservative. They're undervalued. The actual worth is much more than that. So therefore, there's no fraud. They don't mention that there's a disclaimer clause. There's a big disclaimer, which it says basically do your own due diligence. Don't even rely on the financial statements. Again, the financial statements are the actual statement is very much less than the actual worth. The actual worth is higher, so therefore it's very conservative, and that's what the banks got. And therefore there's no fraud. Then there's no fraud because there's a disclaimer clause at the beginning and all throughout the financial statements. It says do your own work, do not rely on these statements. 100% do not rely on these statements. And third thing is, I was tried under a statute that's never been used before that doesn't allow you to have a jury. I'm not allowed.
It's a bench trial.
I never heard of that before. I don't get the option.
Because you're an idiot.
They wouldn't give me a jury. I get no jury. A judge is going to make a decision. He's a Democrat judge. He's very liberal. And I believe he's under a lot of pressure. This is a rigged trial. This is a rigged situation. And our country can't stand these things. And the people of our country understand it. We're being railroaded. And I have other trials we're being railroaded. You saw yesterday where they take away my right to speak. I won't be able to speak like I'm speaking to you. And I'm not saying anything.
You're doing it right now.
I won't be able to do this with that trial. Because the judge, which of course we're appealing, because the judge said basically I don't have a right to speak. And I'm the number one candidate.
No, you don't have a right to intimidate witnesses and officials.
That should be over. And leading Joe Biden. And I'm being restricted. My speech has been taken away from me. I'm a candidate that's running for office, and I'm not allowed to speak. This is a railroading that's all coming out of the Department of Justice. It's all set up by Biden and his thugs that he's surrounded with, to try and sneak out an election victory that he's not entitled to win because he's been the worst president in the history of our country. Thank you very much.
He's not entitled to win. Wow. The House floor now empty.
House Democrats are giddy for the idea that they could sort of have Jim Jordan as speaker, as foil, but then they're sort of horrified by the idea that he would actually be speaker.
Yeah.
It is a majoritarian institution. The speakership, it may look weak right now, but whoever has the speakership, it's a job worth having because you do have quite a lot of power over what you can bring to the floor, etc.
Rhonda, if it was raw numbers, Hakeem Jeffries would be the Speaker of the House because he did get the most votes with 212. But of course, you instead need a simple majority, and Republicans, 20 of them defected from Jim Jordan. Can you talk about what you'll be watching for Republicans as they figure out their next moves here?
I I think that this recess will tell us all we need to know about where the Republican caucus is right now. If this is a short recess, then, they may feel like they can bring this up again. If this is a prolonged recess and then we go into an adjournment for the day, then that means they know that they do not have a consensus candidate in Jim Jordan right now. So I am waiting to see and hear when the chair may bring this back up. But from the looks of it, looking at the House floor, everyone has sort of exited. I'm in the Cannon Rotunda, and I believe some members are coming through here right now. So it's believed that this might be a long break. But of course, we don't know that. I think one of the things that's important to think about.
So I would say if we get another vote today, it'll be this evening. 6, 7 o'clock, probably after dinner. So that's probably going to be your troll patrol for tonight. We'll be doing this shit again. I'm going to sign off for now. When they decide to bring it back to a vote, if we don't know what's going to happen. If they decide to bring it back for a vote, I'll be back with you. I would assume they're going to do one more time today at least. Because of the whole, there's a few people that wanted to vote against him on the first round just to show, because they're in a blue district or whatever. So I would assume we're going to get at least one more vote, but who the fuck knows at this point? So I'm either going to see you at 8 p.m. tonight, or I'm going to see you at whenever the fuck they decide to come back to the House floor. Can't really give my usual sign off, so don't do anything I wouldn't do. However, that doesn't